Hey everybody, thanks for stopping by. I wasn't gonna do this actually. I started doing it and then I stopped. But the reason I'm doing this one about Alien Covenant is because people have been asking me my opinions on the film, but asking me if I'd seen it, if I liked it, because to know me is to know how much I love the Alien franchise. And so I wasn't gonna do it. The reason was because so many people are, expressing their feelings and their opinions about it on YouTube already, from regular reviews to like serious rants. And I've actually been finding them very interesting and entertaining. So I didn't think, what is the point, of just putting up another one? But I decided to do it for the people who were asking me. So I'm going to share with you guys who are interested my feelings on the movie. I'm not going to go in depth over the same things that everyone has been having complaints with. It kind of seems to me, for those who have complaints about the film, they seem to be the same ones, which is a telling thing because people are sharing the same feelings about the same issues. Some people think of them as problems. Other people think of them as just dislikes. So I'm just going to share with you what just disappointed me, and try not to rehash the same things. But for me, right off the bat, the real big disappointment for me personally, as a person who loves Prometheus. Yes, I'm one of those. I'm in that camp. I love Prometheus. I own multiple versions of it. I've seen it multiple times, and I love it more each time I watch it. So for me, the biggest, most obvious disappointment for me is the fact that he did not continue the story in Alien Covenant. True enough, we can say we didn't get what we were promised. And it's not like it was, well, I guess you could say it was a given promise, because he has commented that the second film after the sequel of Prometheus was going to continue the story of the engineers and stuff. So, yeah, technically, it was a broken promise. We did not get what he said we were going to get. But I have to tell you, I was very concerned from the jump, like 2 years ago, I think, when he changed the movie title. The initial movie title, if I remember correctly, for this film, which is the sequel to Prometheus, was going to be called Prometheus Paradise Lost. And when I found out that he changed it to Alien Covenant, I knew immediately. He's dropping the ball. He's changing something. And also, my second thought was, he has fallen prey to all of the moaning and groaning and complaining and attacks by those who vilified Prometheus. And first, let me say, I have no problem with people disliking something that I like or love. I respect everyone's opinions, and I expect everyone's right to dislike whatever they like. I have no problem. You can hate it all day long. It's not going to change the love and appreciation that I have for Prometheus. It's not. But it's funny how a lot of people, when they hate something, though, they won't let you like it. I don't care if you hate it. But to say that is to say I'm very disappointed in him as a director, very disappointed in him as a visionary, very disappointed in him as an artist. And yes, I consider filmmaking a form of art. And he betrayed all of that by giving in to the people who disliked Prometheus, giving in to the people who attacked the movie. Whether it was his sole choice or whether it was pressure from the movie studio, because of course they're all about the money. But what I find is ironic, it was split. It wasn't like everybody hated the movie. It was critically acclaimed. It was millions of people liked the movie. I think it's equally split. I think so many people want to make you believe that everybody hates Prometheus, which isn't true. They just make their voices heard louder. That's all that is. And you might be saying this is supposed to be about Alien Covenant, but it's still about Prometheus because this is a trilogy. It was supposed to be about Prometheus. It's supposed to be an extension of that storyline. So it's relative. So I'm just very disappointed that he gave into that he sold out his vision to try to appease people who still aren't happy. So now we don't know anything else about the engineers. We don't get to see anything about their culture. We don't find anything out about their motives. Oh, and as a consequence to that big disappointment, he just freaking killed off Shaw. You know, I'm really, really, really upset about the fact that he just assassinated the whole Prometheus vision, which I found very intriguing, very interesting, very different. Here's the thing. You have a group of people, again, this is not meant to be disrespectful or put down to anyone at all. No, I'm just saying in regards to the people who do not want changes in the Alien franchise. Some people want what they want and they don't ever want it to change. They want the same xenomorphs that we know. They want the same themes that we've had. They don't really want it to change much. But there are a lot of us who were excited about this backstory, finding more out about the space jockey, which is now what we're calling the engineer race. We were just delving into it. It was so intriguing and exciting and refreshing. And it wasn't a replacement of the alien mythos. It was just an extension of it. It's like, being in a city and having different roads. That's all it was. And we were finding out more. Personally, I thought it was totally interesting to find out their ancestry and to be able to see the ancestors of what we are familiar with now. What did they look like? How did they behave? I loved it. I love it. I loved it, and I'm saying past tense because I think it's dead. We're not going to get anything else. I mean, he can work around it if he really wanted to. Which I find interesting that the next one is going to be a prequel to Prometheus. Why are you jumping back and forth? Does he have regrets now? Regrets. Does he have regrets now that he sold out his vision? How do you go from doing Prometheus, then doing a sequel to Prometheus, to now doing a prequel to Prometheus? He's all over the place. And I think maybe he's going to try to rectify the mistake he made by going ahead of Prometheus, thereby being able to show us more about the engineers. Maybe he's going to do right by that storyline. I really hope he does. And yeah, you have every right to kill off a main character and do whatever you want to do. Like it pissed everybody off about Alien 3 when, in the opening, we see all of our favorites dead. They killed them off. And no matter how much it pissed us off, they had a right to do that if they wanted to, But yeah, that's my biggest, most obvious disappointment. I was crushed to see that I wasn't going to see anything else about the engineers or their culture or their civilization or their motives or their race. To see Elizabeth Shaw, it was just such a sad, sad thing. And in a way, I think he's symbolically, because he's very known for symbolism in his films. he symbolically trashed it. I don't know if he did it out of spite. It's like, you all didn't like it. You didn't want something new and different. Fine. To hell with you. And he literally, by having David bomb, technically that's what he did, having David bomb the engineer planet the way he did in destroying it in one full swipe, he symbolically was telling us that's just what he did with the Prometheus vision. He just destroyed it in one full boom. So yeah, my other disappointment, I don't like this angle of making the android the nucleus of the film. I don't like that. I've always liked, and I know somebody could say, well, you're being hypocritical. You just said, what's wrong with change, which is true. But I'm just saying, I don't like him being the central figure. I've always liked the androids being almost like the second central figure. They always played an important part in the film, but they weren't the main focus. And now he's taken the main focus away from the human and made the main focus the android. I'm just saying, personally, I don't like it. But the exception to that is, thank goodness, that Michael Fassbender is phenomenal. I've liked him since I first saw him in 300. I think he's an amazing actor, and I think he does a phenomenal job as David. But I just don't like the direction they're going with making him the main focus. Now, who's to say we don't know how important a position he's going to be in the next film? The focus may not be on him anymore. Maybe his story is told already now, and he's going to move on from that. We don't know what's going to happen. And then I think my other major disappointment is the massive use of CG. Now, here's the thing. I know in the times that we're in, CG is the default in movies now, not practical effects. CG is. It's easier. It's easier to manipulate. It's easier to change. Supposedly is more cost effective. But I think in many, many instances, it detracts from the film. It could easily diminish a scene because it looks fake. Yeah, obviously there are certain situations where CG is almost necessary because the things that you just could not do with a real person, or it would just be too difficult to set up a scene, and CG definitely serves a purpose in that. But when you are dealing with monsters, I just think it gives it more depth, more realism, in a strange sense, because some people go, well, sometimes practical effects can look fake. Well, yeah, if you have a crappy effects team making it. But if it is done right, you know what I'm saying, and done well and done with quality, could you imagine? And I have to tell you, I like the design. I didn't think I would when I saw earlier pictures of the new creatures, the new aliens. I wasn't sure how I felt about it. And not just because they didn't look like the xenomorphs that we are familiar with. That had nothing to do with it. I just mean in general. I wasn't sure how I felt about it. I wasn't really sure if I liked it. But when I saw it on screen, I thought the design, not how the CG made them look. I'm not talking about that. I mean, just the initial design of them, I thought was very intriguing and very different. Now, for example, what do they call? I think they call the white ones the neomorphs, if I remember. For instance, the scene when the one neomorph was now full grown, right? Had a kill and it's sitting over the kill on the floor, and then it rises up. Could you imagine how amazing that would have been if that was a practical effect? If that was a human in that suit and you got all that 3D, oh my Man, that would have been phenomenal as a practical effect. That really disappointed me. You know, to see that luminescence and under the skin and all that, that would have been amazing. I think that was an amazing design. Personally, that whole scene right there, I really liked that scene. It was on par with that first time when we see the original Xeno, you know, on its haunches and then it rises up slowly. It was, and I'm pretty sure because so much of this movie is basically just a parallel to the original in so many ways, we know that. But still, it doesn't take away from the fact that I liked that scene with him hunched over so ominously over its prey, and then it just rises up slowly and walks to the. If that was a practical effect, my goodness. Anyway, so those are my two major disappointments in the film. The fact that the Prometheus storyline was just so disrespectfully destroyed, how Shaw was so disrespectfully dismissed and thrown away. She was thrown away, just thrown away. It's ridiculous, and the lack of use of practical effects. So that's it. And I think my other little quips, like I say, it's stuff that everyone else has had complaints about. What was the point of James Franco being in the movie? What was the point? Even if they had left in the scenes that they removed from the film to make those YouTube prologues, because you know they were in the film, and somebody in the marketing department was probably like, oh, we could use that, you know, as a marketing tool to get people interested in the film. Even if they left that in there, again, what was the point of him being in it? It was just pointless. You know, a lot of people complained about some of them doing stupid things, and okay, I do kind of have to comment. A lot of people complain about, damn, how many times is someone gonna slip on blood? I don't know. I've heard somewhere that yeah, you will slip on blood. It's not like water. I'm just saying, playing devil's advocate. You know, I think it's an easy thing to do if you're panicking running, that you can easily slip on blood. So I'm just saying. But yeah, my other complaint, I will make this comment because everyone else has made, but you know, I do have to comment on it because it was so obvious to me in watching it. I have a complaint about the lack of characterization. You don't care about these characters. You don't even remember the names. I think there's only three I remember. Danny, aka Daniels, because you hear it all the time. Tennessee, because you hear it all the time. And what was it, Ferris, which was Tennessee's wife, if I recall. See, I'm still questioning it, but I believe it was Ferris. And of course, we already know David. But you just have no connection to these characters at all. Some people don't care about that, but I do. I like to care about the characters. I like to care about whether they die or not, you know. These people were just all fodder. You didn't care if they died, how they died, when they died, if they died. Some people wanted some of them to die sooner. That's bad. When these are the good guys and you're hoping that some of them hurry up and die, that's not good. You don't want that in your film. So anyway, overall, I was disappointed in it. I enjoyed what I enjoyed about it. I didn't hate the whole film. There were parts in it that I did like. But as a whole, I'm not in love with it. Honestly, I'm questioning if I'm even going to own it. I'm not a completionist when it comes to my movie collection. I literally only buy what I want to buy and what I like and what I want to rewatch. So there could be a series of films in a franchise or something. I don't need to own all of them. You know, like for instance, Jaws, one of my all-time favorite, like number one movies, right? I don't own all of them. I own Jaws and Jaws 2. That's just how I am. I like the ones that I like, and So I don't know. I don't even know if I'm going to buy this when it comes out. Now, if they do a director's cut or some other re-envisioning, some type of re-editing, because see, watching this film, I felt like, and this is using an old term because it doesn't apply anymore really, but I felt like a lot was left on the cutting room floor. For those of you who know that saying, it feels like there was a lot cut out. Like there's stuff missing. We didn't get the whole story. We didn't get everything we were supposed to get. I think too much of the wrong stuff was left in, and maybe too much of the wrong stuff was taken out. I personally did not like the scene. I totally get it, and I fully understand it. I just did not like that scene with David and Walter with the recorder. A lot of people are calling it a flute, but it wasn't. It was the recorder from Prometheus that the engineers used. If I'm correct, but I'm pretty sure that's the instrument that the engineers used to control the ship from Prometheus. The scene was too long. If you wanted to put some of in it to make a little point that David was trying to make with Walter, that's fine. But that scene was entirely too long and unnecessary. I did not like it. Too much of the quotes. A lot of people who aren't familiar with Shelley and a lot of the classic literature and poetry, it went right over their heads. They didn't know what they were talking about and the quotes that they were sharing. But yeah, I know them. I'm familiar with them, and I think it was too in the nose and a little pretentious and unnecessary. That's my opinion. I just didn't like the scene, and it bored me, and I thought it was unnecessary. But again, there are scenes. Okay, instead of dogging it so much, I will share some the stuff that I liked. I did like. I'm trying to think from the beginning. I did like the scene, which a lot of people didn't like, but I did like it when the scene when the little neomorphs attacked them from the wooded area, when they attacked them outside the landing craft. I liked that scene. That was a really great horror moment. I think that it was a little bit too many fast cuts, too much of that. I think the editing was just too quick in that scene, but it was really a good horror scene. I really liked that scene. I did like the scene with the backburster in the, I'm about to say infirmary, but not, what do they call it? The med lab. A lot of people didn't like that scene. I don't know why. I actually thought it was a good horror moment. I liked it. I actually liked seeing him come, that little neomorph coming out of his back in like a birth sack. It was different. I actually liked the scene. Some people are trip on, why would she just grab for this little knife? Why would she not get off the floor? It's easy to judge people, and I'm going to play devil's advocate. It's easy for people to judge people and say what they would or would not do in a moment of utter fear and confusion and panic. Okay? She saw what she just saw and had never seen anything like that. This guy is convulsing. Something's bursting out of his back. She doesn't know what the hell is going on. And then this little thing comes out and attacks her. She probably got, what's the term? When she fell, got the air knocked out of her. That's logical. When you fall that hard, the air gets knocked out of you. It was just a horror scene. People, I think, are a little too hard on that. I like that scene a lot. I loved it personally. When that little thing came scurrying at her and she kicked it, I love that. Give her some credit. People are too hard on that scene, I think. I like that scene. So I like that scene. I'm trying to think of what else. Visually, I like the scene when they're following David and they see it's like the land of the dead. That was a very ominous visual. As far as scenes, though, I can't think of anything else I say that I love. That's bad for a film that is over 2 hours long. Oh, I did like the ending scene, though. It was very ominous and typical, kind of a prequel, so to speak, because it is a prequel, kind of a prequel of what we see of how the android, of the Ash android being like, having its own initiative, secret initiative, or kind of like the ominous bad android kind of feel to it. I liked the ending. So those are like really the only 3 scenes I could think of that I could say that I like. So yeah, there you go. Those are my thoughts on the film. I didn't love it. It was okay. I may or may not buy it. Let me put it like this. I won't buy it as is, but if they do a director's cut or some type of other revisioning of it, I would buy it to see what they did, hoping that they made it better. So needless to say, I'm disappointed. I'm just disappointed, and my disappointment is in making my opinion biased. I separate myself. I can separate that. Like, I don't compare movies, even if they're sequels. I don't compare movies to other movies. I always judge movies on their own merit. I never do that. This is me judging the movie as is. Even if I took the fact that he didn't continue the Prometheus storyline, if I took that out, I still would just say I just wasn't in love with the film. I just felt like been there, done that, seen it. It just seemed like the same old to me, which was a disappointment. So I didn't like, I'm sorry, her name, I can't even think of her name, but who played the lead, Danny. I just did not like her in that role. I couldn't connect with her, really. I didn't hate her in it or anything. I couldn't connect with her at all, really. Please tell me, okay, what the heck was going on with the engineer makeup? You know what? Whoever did that makeup, oh my God, it was horrendous. It was absolutely horrendous. Did they look anything like the engineers that we saw in Prometheus? Did they look anything? Did they even look like they belonged to that race? Not at all. And my thing is, I've heard people try to justify it. Some people are like, oh, well, maybe there's 2 different kinds of races. Or maybe the ones that we saw in Prometheus are some kind of engineered, cloned type of thing. I don't buy that. I don't buy that, because if you want to use that as an example, I think we saw 2 races or 2 factions of that race in Prometheus. The ones in the beginning, who I think are probably the more spiritual creators. And then we see the one that is awakened, who is more military. You see what I'm saying? They're just different. You can tell. They seemed like the ones that we saw in the beginning seemed like a kinder, gentler, more spiritual type. That's the feeling that I got from them. The way they carried themselves and everything. And then the engineer that we see at the end, the ones working on these planets, the ones engineering these bioweapons and everything, they seem more volatile, more aggressive, more military-like. And I think we saw 2 different factions, but yet they still looked the same. They still looked like an unknown species. The design, their physique, the luminescence to them, everything. These people in this movie, who they wanted to call the engineer race, look just like us, painted white. Oh, God. That is just lazy ass filmmaking. That ticked me off. That royally ticked me off. And the other thing that really annoyed me, you know what I liked also best about this film? I absolutely love it about this film is the movie poster. Now, what's funny about that? I think the movie poster is phenomenal. But what is so funny about it is that movie poster is one of the biggest baits I have seen in a very long time for a film. That movie poster, as phenomenal as it is, as beautifully artistic as it is, has absolutely nothing to do with the movie that we get. There are no engineers in it. I mean, yeah, we see him for like a minute looking up, coming out, but it gives you the impression that there is an interaction in some form of fashion between the engineers and the xenomorph race, whatever. But it's false advertising. What you see in a movie poster, I cannot stand it when they do that kind of stuff. Okay, I did almost forget to mention something. Actually, two things. One, I don't know if I mentioned this already, but another thing, um, did Ridley Scott totally forget about the mythos that he created? Because in this movie now, he set it up for us to believe that David is the creator of the xenomorphs as we know it. The xenomorphs, the egg, more than likely the alien queen, because everyone is surmising that whether intentionally or inadvertently, Elizabeth Shaw becomes the first alien queen. So, but if that's the case, how do you explain the mural of the xenomorphs on the engineer ship in Prometheus? Did he just completely forget he put that in his own movie? Or is he hoping that we didn't see it? Or he's hoping that we forget? Or he just thinks we're just all stupid? I don't know. I don't know. I'm just saying. And then my other thing, I almost forgot to mention this. I would be so remiss if I did not mention this lunacy. Seriously, was really Scott like high or something when he put this in here? But really, when the xenomorph, quote unquote, is born, he comes out and he's standing up, and then David raises his arms like he's training a dog, and the xenomorph raises its arms. I thought he was gonna go into a dance. And mind you, the thing comes out like a mini version of the full grown version. Let me repeat that. He comes out like a mini version of the full grown version. Again, did Ridley Scott forget his own movie? This is supposed to take place before Alien, correct? So basically, instead of evolving, the creature devolved, because in Alien Covenant, which takes place before Alien, they're born as a mini full version, like legs, arms, all of that, right? But in Alien, which is supposed to take place in the timeline after Alien Covenant, what comes out, the little chest burster, is like this little sperm thing with a tail. Did I say this movie was messy? I think I did say this movie was messy. Oh my God. I am just too through. Yeah, I'm just disappointed. I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed in it. So, yeah, when he comes out with the next one, yes, I am going to see it. I'm not that person go, I'm done with him. I'm over it. They just need to end the series, because the next one could be phenomenal. You don't know that. So I am still going to see the next film when it comes out, and hopefully he will rectify the mistakes and he will redeem himself. So we shall see. So there you go. That's just my feelings on the film, and for those who care to know. And if you've seen it, I'd love to know what you think about it, But thanks for listening, and I'll catch you guys later.